everybody! I find and take no joy in having to make this video, but here we are. So you guys get an early morning video with me and my cup of tea. So, a few things I want to go over. Actually, there's quite a few things. First, there was a space last night. It was a really good space, really good. Thank you, Whiskier, for being my amazing co-host. Thank you for all the participants, and particularly thank you for participation from Frank Benedetto. And what happened is he kind of broke down what the board is asking for, what they're asking for us to vote yes to. And essentially, what happens is we've got the 1 to 35, and it's an assumption that they would want to take the max. Take it for what it is, right? And then with some rough math, it was just some quick, so not completely accurate, but pretty dang close, or somewhat close. What would happen is essentially after Lincoln Park was issued their share, so we get the split, and then there's an issuance of shares. Lincoln Park would get up to possibly over 20%. I think that's what I was saying, is you could vote for giving them more than like 19 or 18%, whatever it was. You have to look. Take everything I say with a grain of salt, per what Smokey says. Do your own due diligence. So anyways, they get a significant amount of shares, and then there would be a significant amount of shares issued to the board members after our shares had already been split, right? So what happens is essentially you go from a company that is 85% owned by retail to retail having about a 20% ownership, right? So that takes away the voice of retail that we have right now. You guys can vote how you want. George sent me a message because I had publicly asked him to join the meeting, or at least, maybe tell us how he plans on voting, if he can. I don't know what his restrictions are. I just was thinking maybe as a shareholder, and he said, actually, maybe I can pull it up. George said, please share to people that I am on a flight tonight and won't be able to make it, but I will listen to the recording. My only message is to please ask as many shareholders to vote. I am not going to say how they need to vote, but everyone's voice is important. So he's just asking that people vote. And it's fairly vague, and I think he has to stay vague. I don't really have communication at this point with him, so it's a very, very sad situation in which we find ourselves in. I would never have imagined, out of all of the things that we have seen, that we would now be where I believe it's a hostile takeover. I think that there's significant merit to the Hydra report. I think that the actions of the board and what they're asking us to vote on are indicators of their intentions to basically disrupt the balance, to take away retail's voice. So that being said, you guys do your due diligence. If you want to listen to the recording last night, feel free. It was good. And then the other thing that I needed to talk about, and this is the part where I'm like, I just don't want to talk about it. But I will. Here we go. The data that Busy discussed publicly that was actually not supposed to be discussed publicly. Nah. I think it's being misrepresented for what it actually is, and while it's significant, I'm frustrated because this is volume data, right? We're talking about volume data that shows a discrepancy, and this is publicly available data, by the way, but there's a discrepancy in what FINRA is reporting, a significant discrepancy. And if you go back and you look at the merger, it's about 600 million shares, and that would be, just what hasn't been offshored, or you're probably missing a lot of stuff that has been offshored. So 600 million shares at the time of the Torchlight Metamaterials merger. And so why that's significant is that would indicate that you have liabilities that transferred over, and that may be one of the big reasons why they needed to get MMTLP trading, right? Because if there's a significant liability, and this is going to either get sold or spun out, and you're going to be on the hook for it, well, then maybe you can get it My belief was they wanted to get it trading so they could get it dumped, and then scoop it up. And then obviously you guys all know what happened, but I could be wrong. That's just my theory. But we know what happened. The U3 halt happened, but we also have data that shows volume data too, that there's a discrepancy of about 72 million from the time MMTLP started trading until the halt. And so what that is and what that isn't, right? Like you can say it may point to the fact that there may be 600 million shares that were left open at the time of the merger, and it may point to 72 million shares that were not closed at the time of the halt. But you cannot say definitively unless we get more trading data. And so that's why this was brought to Congress, because it was hopefully it was a way to create more pressure. And there were things happening with Congress and the person who found the data, right? So there was stuff happening with Congress that we were trying to be discreet to a certain point, right? At a certain point, then maybe it becomes public based on when that person who acquired this data felt comfortable. And I think they were getting to that point, but it wasn't Busy's to share, and not in that manner, and not with that lack of explanation, right? And so I wouldn't be sharing this without first talking to the person, and second, I wouldn't be sharing it if I didn't feel like there was I feel like there's harm done to the community at this point, because they don't really understand what that data is and what it isn't. And then also too, I wanted to disclose some other information that is quite interesting, and it may explain some of my passion and my frustration for George's removal. This information was presented to West Christian, right? And within about like 36 hours. So keep in mind, at that point, I think George was in Japan. I don't know. You guys can look it up. It was like the Canadian Thanksgiving, that time period, right? So George was gone. This information is presented to Wes, who's going to then present it to the board. Keep in mind that George probably wasn't part of this conversation, or I don't know where George was. But within 36 hours of this pretty significant information, granted, it needs more information, but it needs more looking into. Within those 36 hours, George was removed from the board. And that is significant because they have some information that points to, either it's like super huge glitch, which is probably what Finner would try and say. That's why we need more data, right? But yeah, no, it's just dumb, right? There's no way. But there's significant information to point to market manipulation. We just got this huge contract with Panasonic. Things are looking up. The class action lawsuit just got closed. So many different things, right? We're lining up, and then George gets the axe, and then we get the parameters for this vote that the board wants us to basically vote ourselves out of a voice and give them more power. And Lincoln Park, the dilutive funder, who's an unlawful, unregistered broker-dealer. So that's very concerning to me. And then the next thing is, then you look forward and you look at when the Hydra report was released and when Jim leaves. Maybe Jim was sick. Maybe. Maybe. So that data was presented to West Christian on, and we believe that information was given to the board. And I am wondering if that was part of why George was removed. If someone had an intention, and this is speculative, but if somebody had an intention to destroy the company, chop it up, take it somewhere where the founder maybe wouldn't have aligned with them, and they have this, and they've just been sitting on the board watching without bringing aid and assistance to help the company. And then there's significant turnarounds, right, where we start looking like we're headed to a positive trajectory. It's like that's when the hammer comes down. And I think that's what we saw. And that's just my opinion. You guys can, take all the information to make your own thoughts. Um, Other than that, dilutive funding. Let's talk about dilutive funding. I'm kind of wondering how we should work this, or how I should work this. I really feel like the time has come that a derivative action seems appropriate, to cancel the funding deal with Lincoln Park, and to ensure that they are not able to get um, these this huge percentage of the company. And so I don't know if I'm going to do a GoFundMe or what, but I think that legal action is probably overdue, right? Yeah, it's time, and it needs to be done. The company needs to do their fiduciary duty, and it's not like they don't know, because they do know. They do know for sure. They know that they are engaged in funding that harms their shareholders. So stay tuned for that. The next thing is drama, um, and struggles. I'm seeing a lot of it. We are at 12/4, so we're just a few days before our anniversary of the halt, and I see people feeling it. I see people fatigued, and it's really hard. I see people who've lost sobriety. I've just No, this struggle is real. The struggle is definitely real, and the thing that's hard is, I see these people who've been doing so much work. Anna in particular, right? She's been doing such good works, and she's on the ground, presenting that information to Congress, and representing it appropriately, and engaging in these conversations to get more information, to put pressure, to hopefully get answers from FINRA, to hopefully get subpoenas, right? She's doing everything she can, and to have people in the community rip her apart for that, or say that she's not appropriate to talk to Congress, or that she's giving misinformation when they don't even have the information. That's ridiculous. And so, you know, maybe we just need to do better and be better. But um, it's a difficult thing to call out drama without creating more drama. So I don't want to spend too much time on this subject, but I do want to tell you guys, if you're in these spaces where this stuff is happening, well, I understand it's entertaining. I understand that, right? And I understand that we're fatigued, and so maybe that's kind of some kind of a reprieve, but it harms us. And when you give oxygen to that fire, it fuels it. And in doing so, the drama has created so much division, and it actually creates a lot of exhaustion for many people. And so you see people drop out. And to be completely honest, yes, I have been a problem. I have. And maybe I'll continue to be a problem, because I'm trying to figure out a way to address this without creating more division and dynamics, but that are harmful. But I'm not really sure how to address it other than the way I'm doing it now. And I'm just telling you how I feel. I see people who are fatigued. We're going on a year. I see people who are struggling, and the drama does not help. Um, Being focused is what's going to help us. And so now I don't know if and when this information is going to be made public. Like I said, it is public if you start going and looking at volume data, right? So maybe there are some folks who can go and figure it out. And yeah, other than that, now you know what Congress knows. Now you know what, well, to an extent, now you know what metamaterials knew and learned right before they removed George. Now you know that they are trying to engage in a vote with a understanding that there is a massive, possibly, um, what looks to be, there's a discrepancy that me. I'm like, see, now I have to be careful, and this is why it's not like why we have to be careful. there's a discrepancy that needs looking into that could point to an indication of, a huge share imbalance. So how can we even have this vote? There's a lot of questions. But anyways, I've spent enough time on this video. You guys can DM me. If my DMs aren't open to you, then just ping me in a big Twitter message, and then I can open my DMs to you. I try and keep my DMs closed because you'd be surprised what I get in my DMs sometimes. Anyways, other than that, appreciate you guys and have a great day.